Censorship is the suppression of information deemed harmful or sensitive, and in wartime it becomes a tool for controlling public narratives and protecting national security. Governments and political entities often use censorship to shape the information available to the public. For example, in conflicts like the Gaza crisis or Russia's invasion of Ukraine, censorship isn't just about military secrets. It's also about managing how people perceive the war. According to sources like Time magazine and reports on Russian media restrictions, censorship often extends to propaganda efforts, controlling narrative both within and outside the country. From a governmental standpoint, censorship is seen as a means to protect national security. Governments restrict the release of sensitive military information to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Without these measures, troop movements, vulnerabilities, and tactics could be exposed, potentially jeopardizing the safety of soldiers and civilians. Another reason governments use censorship is to maintain public morale. By controlling the media, they can limit anti-war sentiment and ensure that government narratives remain dominant. Reports like those from NPR on the Gaza conflict show how media restrictions are often justified as necessary for national unity. However, censorship also raises important political concerns. For example, when Ben & Jerry's sued for its parent company, Unilever, for allegedly censoring its stance on Gaza, it highlighted how censorship can be used to suppress political opinions. This raises questions about whether the power corporations must silence viewpoints, especially on sensitive topics. This case demonstrates how political entities like businesses influence discourse by controlling which political positions can be expressed publicly, says Local 10. Additionally, censorship can be used as a tool of propaganda. Governments argue it's necessary to control harmful or false information, but it can also promote a political agenda. During Russia's invasion of Ukraine, restricting Russian state media like RT was seen as a way to curb propaganda. However, it also limited access to diverse information, raising concerns about media manipulation. As noted earlier by Time, this highlights the challenge of balancing censorship to combat propaganda while ensuring access to unbiased information. In conclusion, censorship in wartime is a double-edged sword. Again, from a governmental standpoint, it can protect national security and unity, but from a political perspective, it also risks silencing opposition, distorting information, and consolidating power in the hands of those who control the narrative. The challenge is finding the balance between necessary censorship and the preservation of free speech, especially when dealing with issues that affect lives and history. In a city like Hialeah, construction is extremely common. While some of the construction may be bridges or expansions of street and roads, a portion of it is also businesses and apartment complexes. This is the real estate industry. Industry is a department or branch of a craft, art, business, or manufacturer. The real estate industry spends and invests money with the goal of making more back through the exchange of goods and services between two or more entities. This is commerce. Benefits of this industry and its commerce are the variety of home types for the variety of home buyers gained from these residential properties. This is because the residential property can be requested to fit certain needs from a buyer while it is still in its early stages. While this sounds great, projects like these can raise many ethical concerns as well. This brings me to the collapse incident in Surfside. Did you know that, according to the Miami Herald, mansions and other properties want to be built on that site? From an ethical perspective, how would you feel if you were one of the unlucky people who lost a family member or two in that incident? Do these developers expect people to just forget what happened during that tragedy? The opinion of those people who lost family during that incident should be accounted for as well. Something else that should also be accounted for is the environment. The real estate industry is all about expanding its reach and finding more efficient ways to get money. If one builds a business here, it reaches the people there. If one builds a business there, it competes with the other over here. This, in turn, increases manufacturing, storage, sales, etc., which is great, but at what cost? The cost for many builds and projects is the environment. Many of these jobs end up contributing to pollution, deforestation, and just end up hurting the environment in general. A popular environmental alternative is solar panels, but a new ruling in the U.S. might make the import of these solar panels more expensive, says NPR. From an environmental standpoint, solar panels seem like a great first step in finding ways to help the environment. But with this new ruling, the availability of these solar panels can rapidly plunge and just harm the environment even further. CNN also reported that a Macy's in New York could be sitting atop a gold mine. Reportedly, Macy's is sitting on real estate worth more than the company itself, not only because Macy's stock price drastically dropped since its peak, but also because of the sheer amount of money the gold is worth. Should Macy's try to find a way to make this moment to an opportunity to raise their stock price and get back in the trend? In essence, real estate is not only buying and selling products, but creating the foundation for future growth in the nation and ultimately worldwide.
Sports and leisure are essential parts of everyday life, offering physical, mental, and social benefits. Sports refer to structured physical activities like football or swimming, often competitive, while leisure includes free time activities done for relaxation, such as reading, gaming, or walking. On the positive side, engaging in sports and leisure activities promotes better health, reduces stress, and improves overall well-being. It also fosters social connections by encouraging teamwork and bonding with others. From a medical standpoint, these activities provide clear benefits, such as improved cardiovascular fitness, muscle strength, and flexibility. However, there are downsides too. One major con is the risk of injury from excessive strain or accidents during sports. Another is the cost and time commitment required for certain activities, such as inexpensive gear or travel to facilities. From an emotional standpoint, sports and leisure help reduce anxiety, elevate mood, and build self-confidence. For example, NPR highlights how choosing enjoyable activities is key to building lasting habits, especially for beginners inspired by events like the Olympics. Another article points out that many school programs unintentionally exclude kids who want to participate but aren't top athletes, raising concerns about equal access to the social and health benefits of sports. When it comes to leisure, NPR also reports that regular enjoyment of downtime like vacations or relaxing hobbies can significantly reduce negative emotions and prevent depression. These ideas are reflected widely across digital platforms too, through viral TikTok fitness trends, motivational posts from influencers, and online communities where people share their favorite ways to stay active or unwind. All of this shows how relevant and widely discussed these topics are today.
Welfare is a government program that helps people who are struggling. These programs provide things like food stamps, housing help, unemployment benefits, and healthcare. The goal of welfare is to help people meet their basic needs, especially during hard times. One of the main benefits of welfare is that it helps reduce poverty and inequality. Programs like SNAP, food stamps, and TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, help families buy food and pay for housing. These programs reduce the number of people living in poverty. Research from the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities shows that welfare programs help lower the poverty rate by about 15%, making society more equal and giving everyone a better chance to succeed. From a statistical standpoint, welfare programs are effective in reducing poverty rates, with evidence suggesting a reduction of approximately 15%. This shows that these programs are helping decrease economic inequality in society. Welfare also improves health and education. These programs make sure families can get healthcare, food, and education. For kids, this help is especially important. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research shows that children from families receiving welfare benefits are more likely to have better health and perform better academically. This help is a key way to break the cycle of poverty. From a social standpoint, welfare programs improve the well-being of children, leading to better health and academic outcomes. Healthier, better educated individuals are more likely to become productive members of society, contributing positively to the economy. However, a big criticism of welfare is that it can make people depend on it too much. Critics argue that when people rely too much on welfare, they might lose the drive to find work or improve their situation. Research from the Brookings Institution suggests that welfare can reduce the incentive to work, especially when benefits are generous and there are few work requirements. This leads to concerns about long-term dependency. From a political standpoint, the concern that is that long-term dependency on welfare can undermine the goal of encouraging self-reliance and financial independence. This makes it a challenge for policymakers who need to balance offering support with encouraging people to work and become self-sufficient. Another problem with welfare is that it costs the government a lot of money. In the U.S., the government spends over $800 billion each year on welfare programs, which is a large part of the national budget. Research from the Congressional Budget Office shows that spending on welfare programs is projected to keep rising, putting additional pressure on the government to balance its budget, especially as the population grows. From an economic standpoint, this increasing government spending places a financial burden on taxpayers. Higher taxes or more government borrowing might be needed to cover these costs, contributing to national debt.
In society now, there are three big T's, which are very important in today's world. They're transport, travel, and tourism. What are they? Transport, the means of the way people or goods move from one place to another, as seen in cars, planes, trains, buses, bikes, etc. Travel is when someone goes from one place to another, especially over a distance, and tourism is when people travel to different places for fun or like as a vacation, right? Travel and tourism help people learn about cultures and places, because when we visit other countries, we see how other people, they really live, and we try new foods and lifestyles. From a cultural standpoint, this can really benefit society as a whole, because this cultural diversity can really completely shift the way we see things and how other cultures see things, and we can implement these ideas. Another pro of travel and tourism can be the way it helps the economy, right? A study done in 2023 showed that travel and tourism sector contributed 9.1 to the global GDP, marking a 23.2 increase from 2022. From an economic stance, tourism can fully embrace and help the economy, because when tourists spend money on hotels, they can help businesses, they can help grow businesses and grow more job opportunities for others. With many pros, of course, there's a lot of disadvantages. And one of the main disadvantages of tourism can be, too many tourists in one place can harm the environment, as we see, after spring break in Miami. As a Miami Herald reported, that there was millions of trash, bunches of trash on the floor after spring break, after tourists came to their beaches and they completely damaged them. A second con of travel and transportation or transport is, planes. When we transport goods in planes and cars, they pollute the air and they release gases and emit carbon into our atmosphere that's very harmful and pollute our climate. One can infer that travel, transport, and tourism can fully benefit society and are the main reason on why the world keeps running.
Natural disasters like hurricanes, wildfires, and earthquakes are unavoidable, but how we respond to them makes all the difference. One major benefit of disaster preparedness is saving lives and reducing property damage, which protects entire communities. Another advantage is that investing in disaster management improves long-term community resilience, helping cities and towns bounce back faster after a crisis. Still, managing disasters isn't easy. According to the news press, after Hurricane Ian hit Fort Myers Beach in Florida, the town needed a state loan just to survive financially. This shows how local governments often don't have enough resources to handle large-scale disasters. On a national scale, the LA Times reported how the Eden fire destroyed land tied to the Tongva people, showing that wildfires can destroy not only homes, but also cultural and historical sites, making recovery even more difficult. Internationally, the United States 2024 Global Assessment Report states that global disaster risks are rising due to climate change, urbanization, and inequality. But the report also highlights that early warning systems and community planning are critical tools for reducing disaster impacts, showing a global shift toward science-based mitigation strategies. From a scientific perspective, forecasting and modeling technologies are becoming more advanced, helping experts predict where and when disasters might strike. On the economical side, the cost of recovery can reach billions of dollars, especially when cities aren't prepared. That's why economic investment and infrastructure and emergency response is crucial before disaster hits, not just after. In the end, we can't stop nature, but we can prepare for it. The more we invest in smart planning, education, and early warning system, the better we protect lives, homes, and histories around the world.
International organizations. What are they? International organizations are groups made up of different countries that work together to help international conflicts and concerns. They are set on, or their main focus on, things like health, peace, the environment, and human rights. Some of the well-known organizations are United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the World Trade Organization, but there are many others who do different tasks. The first pro would be that, for example, the works to stop wars and support peace talks are what the United Nations do. They actually report that they keep peace between countries. From a social standpoint, one can clearly infer that this is very beneficial because it maintains peace and protection throughout all society. Second off, they help during emergencies. According to the World Health Organization, they were a big part in helping countries fight disease outbreaks like COVID-19. From a medical perspective, this can be seen as very beneficial because it saves lives because of these organizations. With all these pros, of course, there's some downsides. On the contrary, sometimes because of so many countries being a part of organizations like these, decisions can take a very long time because so many countries have to agree with it, and this can completely slow down the action. Another con would be that other countries can be affected from this, especially smaller countries of poverty. An article written on the Miami Herald stated that if countries like the US take steps back from global health, it can affect other countries because some countries that are bigger or richer have too much power in these organizations and their voices aren't going to be heard as much. Even with all these problems, international organizations are very important. They help the countries work together, share resources, and help make the world a better and safer place for all.
Human rights. Human rights are inherent, universal, and inalienable rights that belong to every individual simply by virtue of being human, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. Human rights remain a pivotal issue globally, with ongoing debates highlighting both advancements and setbacks. In November 2024, U.S. Representative Maxwell Frost called for the closure of Florida's Baker Detention Center, citing inhumane conditions for immigration detainees. Detainees reportedly face medical neglect and limited access to legal resources, prompting civil rights complaints. Conversely, in December 2021, Russia's Supreme Court ordered the closure of Memorial International, the nation's oldest human rights organization, accused of violating the Foreign Agents Law. This move was seen by many as a significant blow to civil liberties in Russia. Despite these challenges, human rights activists worldwide continue their efforts, sharing stories of resilience and advocating for justice, underscoring the enduring global commitment to human rights. However, debates persist over national security measures that may infringe upon individual freedoms, illustrating the complex balance between ensuring safety and upholding human rights. These instances highlight the multi-faced nature of human rights discourse, emphasizing the need for continuous dialogue and vigilance to protect and promote human dignity worldwide. From a, from a social perspective, human rights impact the U.S. socially by promoting equality, inclusion, and respect for all individuals. When these rights are protected, they help build stronger communities, increase social trust, and encourage civic participation. Information and communication technology encompasses all technical means used to handle information and aid communication, including computer and network hardware, software, and telecommunications. In our interconnected world, information and communication technologies significantly influence human rights, presenting both advancements and challenges. QR codes offer convenience, but have become tools for scammers. Reports indicate that criminals place fraudulent QR codes over legitimate ones in public areas, directing users to malicious websites that steal personal information. This exploitation underscores the need for vigilance to protect privacy rights. On a legislative front, bipartisan efforts are underway to address foreign technology threats. Senators have introduced the Restrict Act, empowering the Secretary of Commerce. Conversely, technological innovations like voice recognition software are enhancing accessibility. These advancements empower individuals with speech impairments, promoting inclusivity, and supporting the right to communication. However, concerns persist regarding social media platforms and their potential to infringe upon privacy and security. The widespread use of apps like TikTok has prompted discussion about data protection and balance between technological benefits and human rights. From an economical perspective, information and communication technology impacts the U.S. by boosting economic growth, creating jobs, and improving efficiency across industries. It enhances access to education and services, while also raising concerns about cybersecurity, privacy, and misinformation. ICT connects the country but requires careful regulation to protect national security and individual rights.
Let's talk about something we interact with every day: media, specifically print and digital media. Print media includes books, newspapers, and magazines. Digital media is everything online: news sites, blogs, and social media platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok. One big advantage of digital media is instant access. We can get news, entertainment, and education from anywhere at any time. Digital platforms also allow for global engagement. People can raise awareness, build communities, and share their voices in ways that weren't possible before. But there are downsides. First, misinformation spreads fast because anyone can post online. False info can go viral before facts are verified. This impacts everything from elections to public health. Also, traditional journalism is shrinking. As people move online, print outlets are closing, and long form investigative reporting is disappearing. The COVID 19 pandemic accelerated this. According to the conversation, many journalists had to learn mobile and social media skills quickly as newsrooms downsized and reporting shifted online. From a political standpoint, digital media can shape public opinion but also can be manipulated. Political reports that Senator J.D. Vance has raised concerns about possible collision between tech companies, the media, and government agencies to suppress stories, like the Hunter Biden laptop case. He argues this threatens public trust and transparency. Economically, legacy print media is losing revenue while tech giants dominate digital advertising. This shift affects how journalism is funded and who controls the content we see. So while media content connects us and informs us, it also comes with responsibility. We need to think critically about what we consume and who's behind it. Let's talk about something integral to our daily lives: language. Language is more than just words, it's a system we use to communicate through speech, writing, or gestures. It allows us to share thoughts, express emotions, and connect with others. Whether it's a casual chat or formal discussion, language is the bridge that connects us. One significant benefit of language is its role in connecting us to our culture. Through language, we understand our history, traditions, and identity. It's how stories, music, and customs are passed down through generations. There are also notable educational and cognitive advantages. Learning multiple languages enhances memory, sharpens problem solving skills, and supports brain development. According to Caroline Quintana, the Deputy Chancellor of Teaching and Learning at NYC Public Schools, students who can speak more than one language typically can focus with greater capacity, but they can also be really flexible in their thinking. Moreover, being multilingual can open doors to better academic and career opportunities, offering new ways to experience the world. However, languages also present certain challenges. Language barriers are a significant concern, especially in diverse settings. Miscommunication can occur when individuals don't share common language, leading to misunderstandings or missed opportunities in various sectors like work, education, or healthcare. Another pressing issue is language extinction. As dominant languages spread globally, many smaller indigenous languages are at risk of disappearing. This loss is more than just linguistic. It represents the erosion of unique cultures, histories, and perspectives. Socially, language has the power to build communities, fostering connections and understanding. However, it can also create divisions when used to exclude or discriminate, turning a tool connection into a barrier.
Every ad has some type of significance. Advertisements are a paid form of communication controlled by an identified sponsor that is designed to influence the choice, opinion, or behavior of a target audience, typically to promote a product, service, or idea. Nobody really pays attention to the hard work spent on these ads because they're usually just brushed off. From an economic standpoint, this could waste money and even eradicate small businesses, which can worsen the economy. According to LinkedIn, 82% of small businesses fail due to cash flow problems. While capital is often cited as the primary reason for failure, it's not the whole story. Many businesses struggle due to poor marketing strategies and inadequate operational systems. Another bad thing that can come with ads can be false advertising. False advertising is the act of intentionally or recklessly publishing, broadcasting, or distributing an advertisement containing untrue, misleading, or deceptive statements to promote the sale of goods or services. For example, fast food places use fake props and non-edible materials to make their food look more appetizing. According to CNBC, blow torches, tweezers, and glue. These are just a few of the items that you need to create these mouth-watering restaurant ads. From an ethical standpoint, these companies know they're wrong for doing this and continue to do so. Even with all of these downsides, there are some pros to advertising. One of those would be job opportunity. Hiring often begins with a job ad.
and attracting the right candidates starts with a thoughtfully developing a targeted creative job ad that stands out. If this generation were less ignorant, we could create endless job opportunities for the young and create jobs which could help this nation prosper. Another positive thing that could come with advertising would be promoting a cause. Many people don't view things the same, and promoting a cause that you thought was done injustice can make a person feel better about themselves. Forbes explains that many high-profile brands have successfully implemented cause marketing campaigns that resonate with their customers and employees while adding to their business's profile, positioning, and performance. Most businesses can manipulate cause marketing strategies to promote their brands in different ways, which can prove to be very effective.
Terrorism is the use of violence or threat of violence to instill fear and advance a political, religious, or ideological cause. While terrorism is a very extreme and unethical thing to practice, some believe it is important to do because it brings attention to a cause. For example, the Orange County government released an article on the Orlando nightclub shooting. This shooting was targeted towards the LGBTQ community and killed 49 people. While the shooter's motive is unknown, he most definitely got his point across. From a social standpoint, the man definitely got his ideas across. He brought the attention that he needed or he wanted to this community in a harmful manner. While it's terrible, another upside for terrorism is that it can be a catalyst for policy changes in government. The Beirut barracks bombing of 1983 is a prime example of this. Suicide bombers attacked U.S. and French military barracks in Lebanon, killing over 300 troops. The attack forced the remaining troops to evacuate. Now on to the cons. One obvious downside to terrorism is that it can put a lot of lives at risk and destroys lots of property. For example, NPR released an article on the recent New Orleans truck attack. A 42-year-old man drove his car into a crowd of people on New Year's Day. 14 were killed and dozens were injured. There was a lot of property damage as well. Economically speaking, this could put a government into shambles. Whole countries can be plummeted due to these attacks. And to add on that, people's morale will be lowered as they fear for their lives. Another downside of terrorism is that it could lead to a cycle of violence. BBC released an article on a man who killed a teenager because he was LGBTQ. While this attack and the last attack that I stated on the LGBTQ community may not be related, it is noticeable that there's consistent attacks towards this group. This can invoke a lot of fear in these individuals. Finding a country's form of government is determined by how power is distributed, how leaders are chosen, and how decisions are made in the country. Two examples of forms of government are democracies and monarchies. A good thing about democracies is that it allows people to vote for what they believe in. For example, Miami Herald wrote an article that even during the coronavirus pandemic, people were still able to reach out to their representatives through video calls and emails. From a social standpoint, this creates a better trust with the regular people and the government. This strong relation can lead to overall better life in the country. A good thing about monarchies, though, is that they have long-term stability. For example, the History Press stated that Queen Elizabeth was the Queen of England for 70 years. For example, during a warring state, you wouldn't want to be switching your leader, which is why that long-term stability works so well. Now, while these forms of governments have very good things to them, there are also some bad sides. For example, in democracies, there could be a lot of corruption in government. NPR has an article about how President Biden was AI deepfaked into trying to tell his supporters to vote for the other side. Politically speaking, this could be bad for a country because the wrong president or leader can be selected for the country's needs. A bad thing about monarchies, though, especially in absolute monarchies, is that the monarch might have too much power. This means that the regular folk has zero input into their government, which could lead to bad relations with the common folk and the government. A nation's citizens might want to rebel after being unheard time after time again.
Environmental concerns continue to impact communities at every level, from local neighborhoods to international policies. One major benefit of addressing these issues is the protection of natural ecosystems. Cleaner air, preserved water sources, and healthy forests benefit both humans and wildlife. From a scientific perspective, experts at the EPA confirm that human activity, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, is the main contributor to climate change. In their report on U.S. climate impacts, they warn of rising sea levels, stronger heat waves, and more frequent natural disasters. Another benefit is the economic growth tied to clean energy solutions. As more communities adopt solar and wind power, new jobs and industries are created, building a more sustainable economy. According to the Orlando Sentinel, cities like Orlando are already making strides by investing in solar panel on public buildings and encouraging eco-friendly transportation. These local actions demonstrate that progress is possible, even at the city level. Still, there are major challenges. One downside is the high cost of implementing environmental policies. Some businesses resist change due to financial burden of upgrading to cleaner technology. This leads to a major economic concern, especially for low-income areas that may not have the funds to invest in sustainable infrastructure. These communities often face the worst environmental effects but have the fewest resources to respond. Another con is the lack of political agreement on how to handle environmental issues. Some lawmakers delay action due to debates over economic impact or climate science denial. This is reflected in the UNEP's Global Environment Outlook, which shows how international efforts like the Paris Agreement suffer when countries don't follow through. Climate action requires not just plans, but commitment. Still, economic data from the EPA and UNEP shows that the cost of inaction, like flooding, crop failure, and healthcare, is often higher than the price of prevention. That's why all action at all levels, local, national, and global, is very essential.